Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LO3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Monday, June 15th, 2020. Yes, so people are still having little discussions about the Confederacy, and they go F the flag, and they're all traitors, etc. And don't get me wrong, there's some rough edges when it comes to government as a whole. But one of the areas you have to look at, how can they call it the Civil War when there was a new country been declared, the Confederate States of America? If you read the real Lincoln, they call it the War on the Rebellion. And plus, yes, there's some talk about slave issues, but I can tell you this for sure. It's been a ping-pong ball from both factions for a very long time. If you study history, New England wanted to secede from the Union during the War of 1812. They weren't too praised about the president from Virginia calling all the shots, including Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. Then, of course, some of the northern states, and even Andrew Jackson had his refuse from some of the southern states as well. Tax on tariffs. Of course, South Carolina said no to it because it was very high. And of course, I got compromised and trimmed down by Henry Clay, who was a mercantilist. Then Lincoln questioned a few things. A lot of the Mexican-American War, how I believe he did oppose it. Asked him where's the spot. Then, when the Whigs were defecting, they just reformed the second version of the Republican Party. Just to let you folks know, Thomas Jefferson started the Republican Party, which is now the Democrats. Washington warned us about that on his farewell address. And of course, they call it the Central Confederacy. Some of the multiple states, border states, even New York getting ready to separate during Lincoln's regime. And of course, the last four states, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Arkansas, decided to secede. They didn't like what Lincoln was saying. Jefferson Davis's farewell address, which I read many years ago, did talk about the slave issue. So yeah, there's some elements to that. But remember this. There was more than one reason why those southern states have separated from the Union. So there's always been a struggle, centralization, differences. I will never call them traitors because Declaration of Independence said it the best: when the government becomes usurped, you have an obligation to overthrow it or start a new form of government, which they've done. Start a new form of government. So you can't really call them traitors because it's a voluntary contract, not mandatory. Even we got to look at the multi-ethnic groups served on both sides of the war. Why is that? They had different reasons. I'm not going to knock the 54th Massachusetts Brigade to fight for the North, because they stood what they believed in. And even some of the men of Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and many of the regiments from the South, southern states, fought for their purposes too. Many of the states' rights, because they're all considered sovereign states. But you have to always got to look at it a lot deeper than what it is. See, some of the biggest mistakes the Confederate States made when they attacked the 36-hour attack on Fort Sumter, which was abandoned and they entrapped themselves. That's why the other states were considered the Central Confederacy recanted it and sided with the Union. That was one of the mistakes they made, and of course, not attacking Washington, D.C. That was Jefferson Davis's mistake. Stonewall Jackson didn't want to go there, surround it, and do a peace treaty. Of Because you got to look at it this way. Commanders from both sides, they served together. They were comrades. They respected each other. And a lot of it's on principle. Yeah, slavery was an issue. Some people got treated badly, but the demand was dwindling. Even like the states like Virginia and a few others were getting ready to end it peacefully. Of course, you got to look at the Conscription Act of 1863. Mainly drafted white people only. If you don't have no way to get out of it, you have to pay $300. Today's rate is $30,000. So who benefit the most? Actually, the rich folks, most of the rich people. The poor, the working class. A lot of whites, Irish don't matter. You had to get the draft, and all hell broke loose. Had a big riot. You can look at the draft riots of 1863. And, of course, Abraham Lincoln, or the Lincoln administration, they get the Irish people coming from Ireland, get shipped in. They separate the men from the women. They have them sign instantaneously. You're a U.S. citizen, and you can sign in, to join the Union Army. A lot of them knew Gaelic. They knew what the hell was going on. So you got to look at all sides. This is why, when it comes to the Confederate flag and all that, you got to look at all ends before jumping the gun. Because even a lot of racism was occurring in the northern states. Good example, the New York draft riots. They raided the rich people's homes and hung a lot of black people. Free blacks. Which is, I denounce it. Even now, when it comes to tyranny on innocent people, I call it all out. And people who heard my show for a long time understand that. That's how I look at things. And there's no proof that the war was constitutionally ratified by Congress. So it wasn't a legal war. They called the Civil War as an excuse. But it was an unconstitutional war. But like I said before, if the Confederacy didn't attack Fort Sumter, I know they try to pay it off. They want to buy it off of them. If they were to just leave it at that and observe it was an abandoned base, I think the tides would have turned. The Central Confederacy probably would have been enacted, and Abraham Lincoln would have had a big problem fortifying men. Something to think about. And just like I said before, we all got to stay in the past. I recommend people look at history from all sides of this matter. If you don't learn from it, we're damned to repeat it. That would be my statement pertaining to this. War and rebellion, war and northern aggression, or war between the states. Alright. So, looks like some other people were killed by police. There was one in Santa Ana, Hispanic person, and another person from Milana. So a lot of controversies. I haven't looked at the other one that happened in Santa Ana, but I do see a NWO coup going on. And Sibel Edmonds from News Buzz talked about this, gave us a heads up like a week before. All this is pre-planned. Expect infiltrators, provocateurs, and plants from all avenues, including within the police department. But I'm not going to go police bashing either. It's just, you got tyrannical elements. This is just the laws of nature. So, I was watching that video that happened in Atlanta from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, AJC, and how the aggressor, the suspect, failed the test, did the sobriety. Sometimes how accurate are those things? Not accurate at all, according to some of the scientists. But But watching a video, when you're hanging out, sleeping in your vehicle, and you got at the drive-through, obstructing the drive, you got people going around you. That is a problem. That's why Wendy's called the police. The Wendy's in that area in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, actually have called them up on it because it was interfering with the business. And they said this gentleman had a past history. And when he was getting ready to get arrested, he did resist it, physically resist it with the police. Got one of the tasers. And people were looking, watching the videos. And he pointed. He got shot. The LSPD was running away. So there's a real controversy on the whole, on that whole matter. But I'll read the justifiable use of force on the Georgia statute on that one. But before I do, I'm going to be talking about something here about Duncan Lemp. What happened to him in Maryland? This is from the American Conservative, so the title of the show will be White Privilege Doesn't Benefit Duncan Lemp. Okay? And plus, of course. So, this is the article here. It's by James Brovard. It says here, virtue signaling Maryland officials ignore brutal killing by their own cops. The voiced outrage over George Floyd, but refused to tell us why Duncan Lemp was shot, sleeping in his own bed. Perhaps the most outrageous police killing of the year continues to be almost completely ignored by the American media. Montgomery County, Maryland politicians and government officials have loudly lamented police killings in Minneapolis and elsewhere, while continuing to cover up a no-knock raid that is difficult to distinguish from an extrajudicial killing. Since banning so-called no-knock raids has been included in the new House Democratic proposal for police forms, let's take a look at the recent one that ended in the death of a 21-year-old man. At 4:30 a.m. on March 12th, a Montgomery County Police SWAT team commenced a no-knock raid by firing into a bedroom window and fatally wounding Duncan Lemp as he laid in bed next to his pregnant girlfriend. Police then stormed the house using flashbangs and intimidate Lemp's mother and other relatives living in the house. Lemp bled to death while family members were handcuffed on the floor nearby. Lemp was a Save the IT guy who was volunteering to assist gun rights groups in setting up secure websites and communication systems. So the guy's pro-gun rights, but the Montgomery County Police Department of Maryland said he's a terrorist. But Lemp had no security to protect himself against police bullets coming through his bedroom window before the dawn that morning. During the raid, police officers repeatedly shouted at family members that everything they said and did was being recorded. However, Montgomery police may have either destroyed any videos or never made a recording. On June 5th, lawyer Renee Sandler, representing the Lemp family, was sent a letter to the Montgomery County Prosecutor Haley Roberts. We've been advised that the police chief Marcus Jones made it on record statement that no body cameras existed for the raid of the Lemp home and the killing of Duncan Lemp. Sandler sought confirmation that the raid video footage existed and requested its immediate release. She received no response. After seeing this Sandler letter, I emailed Montgomery County Chief Executive Mark Elrich and Montgomery County Police Chief Marcus Jones asking, can you confirm or deny that there is no body cam footage of the Lemp shooting? I received no reply. I sent the same question multiple times to County Prosecutor Roberts, the same lawyer who threatened Lemp's parents if they attended a protest over his killing at county police headquarters in April. Roberts replied on June 12th, "This matter is an open criminal investigation being handled by the Howard County State Attorney's Office. As there is such an inquiry should be directed to that office." Wait a minute. So you're saying this is from Montgomery County, and now they're having this handed to the Howard County State Attorney's Office. How come Annapolis is not doing it, right? The cover-up of Lemp killing is being aided and abetted by the Orwellian-named Law Enforcement Trust and Transparency Act, which the County Council enacted last year. Montgomery County and Howard County have been in agreement to conduct reciprocal investigations of police shootings. How nice, right? Individuals I have spoken to involved in this case have zero confidence in the independence of the Howard County investigation, which conveniently permits Montgomery County officials to shirk all questions. Perhaps some months or a year or two from now, an official report will reveal the following. We investigated our law enforcement friends and neighbors and found out that they did nothing wrong except for a glitch, where one policeman's finger accidentally bumped a trigger and inadvertently killed a dastardly gun owner who was also guilty of tweeting the Constitution is dead. Alright, this is what you got, these scumbag elements everywhere you are, folks. Okay, I'm going to continue on. Montgomery County officials are offering endless dollops of payday in lieu of revealing how and why Duncan Lemp was killed, while the state government is perpetuating a stay-at-home dictate that this one of the nation's strictest and has helped destroy tens of thousands of jobs. But county officials have nonetheless cheered mass rallies or protests to Floyd killing and the racial injustice. Can we say inconvenience? The county police shut down a major road to assist protest Black Lives Matter marches in the heart of Rockville, Maryland, just right outside of D.C. In June 4th, Washington Post op-ed County Chief Executive Mark Elrick declared, "The killings committed by the members of the police force are truly horrible without justification, often explained why away and seldom punished appropriately." But his fervor on the issue does not extend to revealing facts about killings by police under his command. Elrick has said nothing on the Lemp case. What a poser, a hypocritical tyrant. On June 8th, Chief Jones and police chiefs of Rockville, Gettysburg, and the chief of the National Park Service local division issued a joint statement. "We are angry and outraged over the killing of George Floyd by police officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We realize we must work toward greater transparency and accountability in order to hold the public trust." The police chief then declared that they hereby commit to a set of reforms, including pledge to improve training and cultural competency for our officers. Transparency was nowhere in the reforms. 2 days later, Chief Jones bewailed, "Over the past couple of weeks, I have been beyond angry. I am sick to the core of my soul over Floyd's killing. But there is no evidence he has lost a moment of sleep over a killing by his own SWAT team. While Jones has plenty of time to publicly condemn the action of the Minneapolis police, he has refused to meet with his mother and father of Duncan Lemp, who his own officers killed." See, people like this are murdering posers. They're frauds. They're pieces of filth. Selective outrage extends to the top law enforcement official in the state. On June 10th, Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh, speaking on a Montgomery County panel organized by Communities United Against Hate, lamented that these past few weeks have been awful, referring to the deaths of George Floyd in Minneapolis and Breonna Taylor in Louisville. Frost declared it is not a surprise that many members of our community have lost trust in law enforcement when they see live on videos these events occurring. Florida was brutally killed by an 8-minute knee on the neck after police sought to arrest him for passing a counterfeit $20 bill. Verona Taylor was killed during an unjustified no-knock raid in the middle of the night. Police charged her into her apartment seeking a drug suspect who she had dated years earlier but was nowhere near the scene. Taylor's boyfriend fired at the police, hitting one officer in the leg. Police fired a volley of shots that left Verona dead. Police are justifiably outraged by Taylor's killing. But in the Lemp case, there were no shots fired at police who apparently began their assault by shooting into a bedroom window. On June 12th, I emailed an inquiry to Frost's press office asking whether he had made any public comments on the Lemp case and why he would publicly comment on the Kentucky case that sounds similar to the case under his own jurisdiction. Frost's office did not respond because he's a poser in the bar. Conservatives sometimes accuse liberals of being virtual signaling zealots who are more outraged by prejudice than by wrongful killings. The Montgomery County Council could serve as Exhibit A. In May 2019, a Montgomery County police officer used a racial slur during the trespassing arrest of 4 men who refused to leave a McDonald's plagued by loitering and drug dealing. 2 arrestees had marijuana. Those suspects, if that's the case, are pretty damn stupid doing it from McDonald's. Come on. You gotta have broader, smarter brain cells than that. But I'll continue on. But doesn't mean you shouldn't use racial slurs, okay? The policewoman who was caught on tape told the suspects that she just used the same term to describe the defendants that they had just used. Less than a week later, all 9 members of the Montgomery Council demanded the release of all body cam footage from the incident. My MC Media reported that the council also sought recordings of calls related to the stop, the numbers and locations of all trespassing citations issued in the last 2 years, as well as demographic statistics about the residents stopped and frisked. 3 hours of police video on the incident were posted on the police YouTube channel. 2 months later, amidst much wailing and gnashing of teeth. For the Lemp case, not a single city council member has requested body cam footage. Actually, not one council member has shown any interest in the case. Council has a public safety committee, but they appear to have never heard of Duncan Lemp. But the council did not take decisive action on June 11th to declare racism a public health emergency. Who actually killed Duncan Lemp? Nobody in Montgomery County appears to care. The police have not even disclosed the name of the officers who killed Lemp. In a season when vast protests have occurred, allegedly racial bias by police, Montgomery County has gotten away with refusing to disclose whether Lemp killer was white, black, Hispanic, Asian, or Native American. Montgomery County preens over its progressiveness, but its police department procedures on disclosing the names of officers who kill are worse than Philadelphia, the long-renowned for police brutality. Even more important than the name of the cop who killed Lemp is in question. Did the SWAT team intentionally turn a search warrant into a death warrant? Why, if not, then why did they start the raid by firing into Lemp's bedroom? Will we ever learn the facts? We hope that liberal Maryland hasn't adopted some kind of warped double standard in which the color ones of one skin determines whether there is a fierce investigation into police killing or officers get away with murder. Duncan Lemp deserves more. As American citizens, we all do. And you know what? They're right. How come there's no big outcry? I remember reading about this a few months ago. But Montgomery County don't give a damn. The Commonwealth of Maryland could care less. White privilege didn't benefit Duncan Lemp. So all those yahoos out there, those fashion models that claim to be activists, it's null and void. No show of force. So, everyone's been a victim of tyranny. But the news don't want to talk about it. Why? Because it doesn't. They want ratings. They want sensationalism. They love mind control. That's how these scumbags think. And you know what? They're your enemies, folks. Doesn't matter what they look like. They don't care about any of us. Even the people in Maryland, the Commonwealth of Maryland, there's some awesome folks there. You should be calling these people out. Because this is an issue. That's why I'm against, I support demilitarization and no knock raids. You got to start on a local level from the ground up. Don't rely on Washington, D.C. to do it for you. It's only good for, like, if they get federal funding and all that. But you got to grow up members. The old saying, plant a seed, down no tree. All right, so I want to talk about this here, about the justified use of force from Justia, which is Georgia Code 16.3, Article 2. It's interesting here. So it's here, 16.3.21, use of force in defense of self or others, evidence or belief that force was necessary in murder or manslaughter prosecution. And so it says here, on Section A of this, a person is justified in threatening or using force against another when and to the extent that he or she is reasonably believes that such threat of force is necessary to defend himself or herself or third persons against such other intimate use of unlawful force. However, except as provided in Code Section 16-3-23, a person is justified in using force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm, only if he or she reasonably believes that such force is necessary to prevent death or great bodily injury to himself or herself or a third person, or to prevent the commission of a felony, forcible felony. B, a person is not justified in using force under the circumstance specified in subsection A of this code section if he, 1, initially provokes, which is subsection 1, if he initially provokes the use of force against himself with the intent to use such a force as accused to inflict bodily harm upon the assailant. So, talk about the whole thing happened in Atlanta. If you watch some multiple videos, something to think about. 2 is attempting to commit or committing or fleeing after the commission or attempted commission of a felony. So right there, those are catch-22s, okay? And 3 was the aggressor or was engaged in a combat by agreement unless he withdraws from the encounter and effectively communicates to such other person his intent to do so, and the others, notwithstanding, continues to threaten to continue the use of unlawful force, okay? C, any rules, regulations, or policy of any agency of the state or any ordinance, resolution, rule, regulation, or policy of any county, municipality, or other political subdivision of the state which is in conflict with the code section shall be null and void and of no force in effect. D. In the prosecution for murder or manslaughter, if a defendant raises as a defense a justification provided by subsection A of this code section, the defendant, in order to establish the defendant's reasonable belief that the use of force or deadly force was immediately necessary, be permitted to offer, subsection 1, relevant evidence that the defendant had been the victim of the acts of family violence or child abuse committed by the deceased, as subjects are described in code sections 19-13-1 and 19-15-1, respectively, and 2, relevant expert testimony regarding the condition of the mind of the defendant at the time of the offense, including those relevant facts and circumstances relating to the family of violence or child abuse that are the basis of the expert's opinion. So those are the interesting questions on this matter on 16-3-21. That will be B2. So that's what I'm saying. So we got to really look at that pertaining to what happened in Atlanta. Like I said before, when I was watching that video, the defendant, you could say I say this in good faith too. He done this to himself, which is a shame. I don't like saying he got what he deserved, anything like that, because that's not my nature. But he could have exhibited himself better and comply instead of tussling and taking and running away and pointing. So, respectfully, that person is not a martyr. He done this to himself. So if they do have charges against the officer, it'll be mainly manslaughter. Expect that, folks, if that's the case. Or he may have that accountability, qualified immunity, which I heard there was a claim that it was by the Supreme Court, so a corporate indoctrination. It is a Georgia issue, regardless. It is a Georgia issue. But that doesn't deserve the Wendy's over there get burnt to the ground, because you didn't achieve the criminal elements of that, not the violent protesters, the criminals. You are contemptuous, because you didn't give a damn about that. They're not responsible or partially responsible for his death. But you just burnt that place to the ground. All you gave a damn was yourself. You self-righteous pigs that you are. I hate using this language at times, my friends, but I just find these things very insulting. So you say that what happened to him was wrong, but burning down McDonald's was okay? No. Unacceptable. You got people who work there, lost their jobs, or may have to get transferred. Thank you for that. Speaking of that, I'm not the only one who will make my point. Dr. Walter Williams did one from careers.com. Follow him on Facebook now. It's called Now What? No decent person can support George Floyd's treatment or the treatment of anyone else at the hands of police officers with the sworn duty to uphold the law. The Minneapolis authorities moved quickly, and Derek Chauvin was fired from the Minneapolis Police Department and placed under arrest and charged with second-degree murder and other charges. The 3 officers who were there with him were also fired and charged with 2 counts of aiding and abetting, 1 for second-degree murder and 1 for second-degree manslaughter. Peaceful protest in any cause is as American as apple pie. But what we saw in the wake of George Floyd's murder is as despicable as anything recently seen in our nation. What makes it worse is the silence and seemly support in many quarters of anarchists who have hijacked the protest to promote their own ends. These are the white liberals and leftist groups like Antifa who could care less about the major problems that exist in black communities and made worse by rioting and looting. And of course, many people posted on their Facebook page and Twitter they were white supremacists and Ku Klux Klan members. The faction game. See, it doesn't count. Whoever does it are criminals. All right? Let's leave it at that. Black Entrepreneurs 2020 Trends look at the African American owned businesses in 2020 is a survey of black owned businesses. When blacks were asked how they view themselves in the present political climate, most were either very confident or somewhat confident. If that survey were run today, I doubt we will get anywhere near the same results. Part of the difference would be from the government's economic shutdown of our nation, but most of it would be the result of the recent wanton destruction within black communities. There are videos of legally armed black business owners standing outside their shops to protect them. There are other scenes of black small business owners in tears over the destruction of businesses that they've pulled their lives savings into. And I've seen them too, folks. Okay? I've seen them as well. My question to the white Antifa anarchists and their fellow black looters is, how does the destruction of black-owned business promote justice for the murder of George Floyd? The recent looting and property destruction, as well as the high crime rates in many black neighborhoods, have the effect of a law that outlaws economic growth and opportunities. During the recent mayhem in black communities, stores of many types were looted and destroyed. CVS Pharmacies has closed 60 stores in 21 states amid looting and protests. Large stores like Walmart were looted and burned. Many smaller stores and businesses were looted and burned. Who will bear the ultimate cost of the rioting? If you said black people, you are right. Black people must bear the expense and inconvenience to go to suburban shopping malls if they are to avoid the higher prices charged by smaller neighborhood stores that have survived the rioting and looting. Even when there is not the kind of social disorder of recent weeks, lawlessness is the hallmark of many black communities. Ultimately, the solution to this lawlessness rests with black people. Given the current political environment, it does not benefit a black or white politician to take those steps necessary to crack down on lawlessness in black communities. That means black people must become intolerant of criminals who make their lives a living hell, even if it means taking the law into their own hands. That brings to me one of the most disturbing aspects of rioting and looting, that it is the seeming impotence of people whom we elect and pay to enforce the law. That includes governors, mayors, and police chiefs who refuse to use their law enforcement powers to protect citizens and their property from criminals. And Mises did a story on that as well, which I talked about that past Saturday. Not this Saturday, but a couple Saturdays ago. Unfortunately, politicians who call it law and order are often viewed negatively. But that makes little sense. Poor people are more dependent on law and order than anyone else. In the face of high crime or social disorder, wealthier people can afford to purchase alarm systems, buy guard dogs, hire guards, and if it gets too bad, move to a gated community. These options are not available to poor people. The only protection is an orderly society. And he's absolutely correct. And I'll let you folks know too, Dr. Walter Williams is an honorable man. African American, black man, whatever you want to call it. One of the most articulate people, intelligent men, I can say, love his work. He's been consistent, been authentic for all these years I followed him. He's right. The people who live in those communities suffer the most. I remember the 5 riots down in Miami in the 1980s in Dade County. They suffered the most, and it's infuriating. But those folks, those looters, they give 2 craps about them. Not more than conceited parasites. Happened the same thing in 1992 in Los Angeles. They didn't give a damn about Rodney King, a lot of them. They go, hey, we can loot and beat up on people and burn down buildings and take their stuff because we can. They got an excuse. This is why always believe in citizen militias. Fortunately, where I was at, we won't have minor damage. But I told store owners, restaurant owners, it's okay to have some Dobermans, Pit Bulls, or Rottweilers ready with some firearms. You know what? They'll be thinking twice of trying to destroy their property or their neighbors. And I can say, I can attest what Walter Williams said, because there's a lot of folks, even in Minneapolis, that live in that town. Black folks, well, young men and women, they are infuriated what happened to their community. And I don't blame them one bit, because I'm mad as hell also. This is why y'all don't jump on some bandwagon and say this is what democracy looks like and so forth. I know I'm ranting, but it is unacceptable. If you don't like it, like what I said, don't listen to the show. I can give two craps what you think. All right. Do one more here. And this one came from Bob Livingston. So all can be related under deception and control. That's what he has to say. If we can but prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them, they must become happy. Thomas Jefferson to Thomas Cooper, November 29th, 1802. Benevolent totalitarianism is the concept of government controlled by and through deception, always purporting to take care of us. For more than 100 years, America has operated as a benevolent totalitarianism. But what happens when totalitarianism ceases to be benevolent? If benevolent totalitarianism is subtle, outright totalitarianism is open warfare on the people, or malevolent totalitarianism. This is what we have in America. We now find ourselves dealing with outright attacks on the people as government exerts greater control in order to suppress dissent over unconstitutional suppression of liberty. Many of those deceived welcome the government doing something, and in fact have been trained to turn to the government and for their needs as intended. But manna to the group is poison to the individual. You must by now know the phrase, divide and conquer. First they divide our families, then they divide the people against each other. Democrats versus Republicans, haves and have-nots, employed and unemployed, illegals and citizens. It is the evolvement of the strategy that has brought us to the present state. We have been socially distanced from every other American. Beware of those code words. Tyranny follows. It is here. It is here. It's got to use that exclamation point. That America is a fascist nation is no longer deniable. Fascism, as described by Benito Mussolini, is a merger of the state and corporate power. How else would you ascribe piling $19,000 in debt on top of the head of each American and giving that money to corporations while you get in return a check for $1,200? I never followed the hype on that one, folks. All significant legislation passed in recent years has been designed to either increase the power of the state to control the people, to increase the power and wealth of the corporations, or to strengthen their symbolic relationship. As legislation that accomplishes these things is detrimental to the best interest of the people. It can't be described as the first salvos that were fired against the people. All current legislation, and especially executive action requiring legal punishment, is in a violation of the U.S. Constitution. America was designed as a representative republic, where representatives elected by the people to represent their interests when laws are passed. Senators were to be selected by the states to represent the interests of their states. Neither the Congress nor the President is answerable to the people or the states today. They only answer to their corporate sugar daddies, the NGOs, which is non-governmental organizations, that operate behind the scenes. These NGOs' dominated and moneyed interests include, but are not limited to, the Federal Reserve, Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, and various and sundry think tanks propped up by the same corporate sugar daddies lining the pockets of Congress. The names of the people running and funding these NGOs are mostly familiar and pop up from time to time in various ways in government and out, appearing in presidential cabinets, heading alphabet soup, government agencies, sitting on the boards of corporations, running the World Bank, etc. Theirs are the corporations that receive the contracts for government business and as it's make war on other countries, move in to rape and pillage the natural resources of the third world countries. See The Secret History of American Empire, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, both by John Perkins. Or fulfill the mandates of legislation, insurance, Big Pharma, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Chase, etc. In 2008, against the wishes of the majority of America, George W. Bush pushed through the Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP, a $700 billion boondoggle of largesse to bail out the banksters and the criminal conspirators on Wall Street. To sell it, Bush employed classic Orwellian doublethink, saying, "I've abandoned free market principles to save the free market system." You get that? Man, let's talk about doublespeak. Damn. Oppositions to this criminal transfer of wealth from the middle class to the wealthy bankster criminals whose illegally activity combined with the Federal Reserve money printing caused the collapse, spawned the Tea Party movement since crushed by the establishment GOP elites. What can we expect to happen to America after the coronavirus relief package? Nearly triple the original bailouts with another $2 trillion a mere decade later. The tragically misnamed Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act was likewise passed against the wishes of the American people. Then the current Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, mockingly told us we would have to wait until it passed to find out what's in it. I remember what she said that. I've seen video clips of it, folks. Mr. Livingston isn't lying. As bad as the Obamacare death care system looked then, it looks even worse now. The Senate gang of thugs just failed to protect American privacy. Even down the browsing and search histories from warrantless government surveillance, it failed by a single vote in the Senate Section 215, the FBI's power to obtain any tangible thing, including books, records, papers, documents, and other items, without a warrant granted by the USA Patriot Act. Was only supposed to be used on foreign intelligence investigations, not ordinary criminal investigations. Come on, folks, sing along. God bless the Patriot Act. It's done for our own good. Exactly. Anybody that not desensitized knows that the Patriot Acts are a war on the American people and human liberty. We are now face to face with modern Star Chamber. Patriotism is the cover. The American flag is the symbol. Police state's okay as long as I got my football. Amen. I'm infuriated when Colin Kaepernick kneel down. How dare he disrespect the flag? But it's okay for the criminal elements of our government can do the same. All right, I'm just being sarcastic, but you got to think about this, okay? There is a crackdown on what was left of free speech. Sure, you can say what you want, but prepare to be canceled. Say anything freely and your life, is over. You will be branded a traitor or worse. Your family will suffer. Your First Amendment rights have been stripped away, and to get too close to the truth, there are serious consequences. Bill Cooper, just to give you an example. History shows that as regimens begin to fail, they become more onerous more aggressive, and finally more violent toward their own citizens. The American system is in a state of collapse unless something changes drastically. Unfortunately, the recent drastic changes are for the worse. I hope you have continued to prepare as I and others have advised. Educate those you care about as to the mechanics of the defense and preparedness. Not many will listen as long as they perceive no crisis. There's a link for that, by the way, on a complete guide to the book on it. You can check it out, How to Prepare for a Collapse. It is clear and straightforward to counter the artifices of deception, which are almost everything you read and hear. We will never get off the animal farm until we recognize the facade of benevolent totalitarianism and the absolute despotism behind it. And, absolutely, this is why always got to look at things into a bigger picture, folks. The faction game, posting stuff on Facebook on white supremacy is irrelevant. You're all being played. John Whitehead from Battlefield America, from Rutherford Institute, will agree. We share information together. A bunch of us have, including David Icke. You may call him a nut job, but doesn't mean he's wrong. These are just examples of what's been happening. The war on terror is a conflict with ourselves. Towards ourselves, excuse me. So you can hoot and holler all you want. You can say white privilege, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, he's a martyr. Doesn't matter. And you're going to support taking things down, telling people we got to take certain shows off, doesn't benefit anyone but the tyrants. And all those little minions out there that are on this little bandwagon trip, they all think it's so powerful, you'll be discarded. They'll use you as, you're expendable. Alright? There's many of us have a target on our back. You're just little bellboy. Okay, dump them. Woo! And they can care less what you think. This is why friends don't let friends succumb to the New World Order coup. Resist it all you can. And hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or me saying something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to decorum. In addition, hit that like button, share it with others, even on YouTube. In addition, I will leave all the footnotes, what I address on my speaker page. Plus, if you want to do a donation, you can hit me at paypal.me/LokiLuck3. I'll make sure I add that to the link. Alright, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.